Hello and welcome to another Turing live coding. Today I'm here with Rakib. So today we'll be solving a React.JS coding challenge. You asked about that a lot of times, and then here we are gonna solve a live coding React.JS interview. Okay, so first of all, I'll bring up Rakib. Hi Rakib, how are you doing and how's your day doing so far?
Hey Jose, nice to be back. I'm doing good. The day has been good so far. How have you been?
Oh, I'm so excited for today. I'm being pretty good, so thanks for asking. And yeah, so today I just want to share with you the preview video that we made with React.js. That was amazing. Okay, so to get started this, I will present to you a challenge and then we are gonna try to solve it together today. Okay, and yeah, so first, let me present you the challenge. Okay, that is the challenge. We have a React component in your face, okay, in the open file. On the right side, we have this embedded browser. And on the left side, you have the solution, the solutions file, okay? So, 1 second, yes. So, yeah, right side is the embedded browser, left side is the solution list, and the middle is the open file. Okay, on your right side, we have this problem to solve. Okay, we need to use React.js to solve this problem. And it is, I'm gonna read for you, and then you'll let me know if you have any doubts about this. Sounds good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, great. So, we need to create a custom React hook, okay, that fetch users, okay, and then display their image, the picture and their name on this page, okay. And this custom hook, it must return a list of users, okay, the current user, and what else? Let's see, two functions, one to move forward and one to move to back. If we are in the last user, when we press back, it needs to show the previous user in the list. If we move forward, it needs to show the next user. Sounds good?
All right, yeah, sounds good.
All right, so far we need to do that. And you need to call these React hooks in the index.tsx. Okay? Did you get what we need to do?
Yeah.
All right.
So,
go ahead.
Go
ahead. What we need to do?
We have this API. Okay, it seems like this API returns an array of user information.
Yes.
So the iterator hook should take this URL, make that API call.
Yes.
And get the first user and get the name, first name and last name.
Yeah. And okay, let me remove. Okay, all the way to the bottom we have the picture. Okay, picture, okay. Large, medium, and thumbnail. You can display the thumbnail. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And then one more thing. At line 5, you can check. I already create a couple of variables. Okay. So in line 5, we have the user list. We have the current. The current is the current user. Okay. Loading I add that as an extra. You can implement that or not. That I'm okay. But loading is every time you press the button and it will fetch the user. We need to show the user that we are loading a new user. Okay, you don't need to implement that. I just add that just in case you want to use that. And also two more functions. Okay, one is next and previous. Next, let's suppose you have 0 users and then you press next. What it will do is it will fetch a new user. And then you have to save it, store that in a list. And then now you have 1 user. And then if you press next again, it will fetch another user. Okay, and then you have 2 users in your list. If you press back, previous, it will show the previous user. And this is a tricky. If you press next again, it will show the next user, not fetch a new one. It will only fetch if you are in the last user.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm glad. So what do you have in mind to create this component? How would you architect this solution?
Okay, so it seems the most tricky part here is making sure we do not make API calls unnecessarily. When we have, let's say we have 3 users, we're viewing the second user, going next should not make an API call. So it seems like we have to maintain that list inside our React hook. And we also have to have a way to maintain an index to the user that's kind of visible right now. And next as previous are just methods. So I think the critical part is maintaining the user list and an index to the current user. So the other thing I want to check, it seems like, okay, so it also takes the URL.
Yes, they were already passing that. Yes.
Iterator. So it takes the URL and it will return the URL is a string. It needs to return a user list. So let me define the user.
Oh, nice.
A user has a name, and for picture, we're going to store it somewhere. So name is a string, and picture is a string. So this method should return user array, which is the user list.
Yes, and I'm glad to see TypeScript there. Yeah.
So that's okay. I'll add the types back later.
Okay, yeah. Let's start without TypeScript. Okay. All right. So you have this state, right?
Yeah, we have this state users. I'll add the TypeScripts later. All right. So we have users list. The next thing it has to return is current user. So we need to maintain current. We could either maintain an object with the current user or an index. I think it makes more sense to maintain the index. Let's say 0 for not selected users. So users index.
Okay, got you. One tip. Okay. So you are using use state, right? How would you update the state?
We would get the state and then set state. basically do set state.
Okay, okay. Let me give you a hint. User state has two arguments. The first one is the reference, and the second one is the set state function. Yeah,
Yep.
that's better.
State users.
You don't need to create this a let because it's a reference. You cannot update it. You can create it as a const. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
but that sounds better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We also need to maintain the loading state. So let's call this.
Yeah.
Initially, it's not loading, so it's false.
Mm-hmm.
Is loading. And finally, we need next and previous. So next is a method. So we do, it doesn't take any arguments, returns something, right? Previous. This one also doesn't take any arguments. It can be constant because we don't want to change them.
Yes.
And next, previous. Okay. All right. Now, do we want to load the image? Actually, let me start with this. We need a way to get the users. So constant fetch user. This method will use this URL to fetch the user. So let's see. Axios URL. Then response. So now we have fetched the user. Let's test it out. Response. Just for testing, I'm going to call fetch user when user clicks on next.
Yeah, and also you have a console in your left side. You can check that.
Yeah, let me hide this. Rows. Console is there. Let's test it out. Iterative test. So
User iterator doesn't have a default exporter. How would you fix that?
we could do this. Iterative test for 16.
Yeah, to fix this, you have to use a function rather than a const. Function.
Export. The other thing we could just do is this and include it here. Iterative test.
Yeah. So if you go with that, go to the user iterator line 2. You can use call braces, and then it should be good to load
Its return value is not iterable. Oh, I'm not exporting this. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first one. That should take care of that. It's not exported.
No, that's okay. Working fine. This is another issue.
That's a name is not defined.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just comment this out for now because we haven't built that yet.
Yeah.
I'll comment this out as well.
That's it.
Okay. If I click next, we should be making that API call and get all of this data back. Results is what we care about. So constant response user list equals to data results. So if I click next now, I should get the user list.
Okay, before we go, can you explain what we're doing? Why we're doing data in the response?
Okay, so we know that data is an attribute of response. So this is basically a convenient way to extract data out of it. We could do something like this to get data out of response, but this seems convenient because if there was something else also we wanted to get out, we could use this syntax to extract that attribute out
It
of
calls
response.
destructuring assign syntax. So you can
Yeah.
destructure the object and assign to a variable at the same time.
Yeah. And
Nice.
we could also do this, destructure results out of data, but name it user list.
Okay, in that case, you are renaming.
Right. So just to confirm it works.
Because result is an array.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should do it. Users list. Okay. We are maintaining users. Every time we get a user, we need to add it to the users list. I'm gonna handle the logic of cycling of not fetching a user when we don't have to later, but this is just to confirm that it works. So we need to get the name, first name, last name, and I presume thumbnail from the picture. So user, we know the first object has it. So let me just look at it here. We have name, first name, and last name. So let's destructure that out of it. From name, we want to get first and last. So first comma last. So first and last should have this and this. Now we want to get thumbnail from picture. So from picture, we want to get thumbnail. I don't want to spell it wrong, so I'll do some copy pasting.
Yeah, I also do that as well.
And just to make sure I have everything I need, thumbnail.
And just to let you know, okay, people are really helping you in the chats. Yeah, they are saying how you solve your issues. Okay, thank you all for helping us on it. Okay, let's.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. All right, now we need to push this in our users list. So update users. We want to push it at the back of the list. So let's get the current list of users, full name, or I think it was called first name. First, we want to give a space, last. So that's our username. And I think it was picture thumbnail. So this should keep our user list up to date with the latest one.
Okay, and could you please explain me why are you using 3 dots first and then create this object in this after a comma? What are you doing there?
Okay, so basically I'm spreading out. So users is a list of array. We already have, let's say, a certain number of objects in it. We want to add another user to it. If we did something like this, users.push new user, this would not work because it's going for React to be able to efficiently render its UI. What it does is compares. React has to know that the object has been updated, right? If we did this, the user's object, it's still referencing the same location in the memory, right? So React cannot do if old state is not equals to new state, right? This test will not pass.
Okay, it's a shallow operation, right?
So we need to kind of create a new object. And to create a new object, this is a handy syntax. we just spread out the existing list and then tack on to it the remaining, anything new that we want to add to it.
Gotcha.
All right. Okay, so now let's come here. We want to fetch the user when user clicks next. So let's do this. We are maintaining the current list of users. Sorry, the current index. So let's say if, let's call this current index. If current index is less than users.length, if current index is less than users.length, what this means is we currently have at least one more user in our list that, I mean, if there's 3 users, we're probably seeing the second user or the first user. So we don't need to fetch any more users. So what we do is set current index, current plus 1. We just increment. But if that's not the case, then we need to fetch the new user. But we need to let a we need to set is loading to. Okay, actually, let's set is loading to true here. And when we are done fetching, okay, let's walk through this. Initially, we are not loading anything. So if we aren't loading anything, we only display our stuff if we are loading something. If not, we don't. The other thing I want to do is
I didn't get this. What are you trying to do?
okay. So let me just roll back. Okay, so if we don't have a user list yet, we are not going to render this part. So user list dot length is greater than 0, and we're only render this part if we have at least one user. When user clicks next, our iterator is going to see current index is 0, user's length is 0, which means we don't have a user. This condition fails. So we come here, we fetch the new user. We fetch all of this user. We fetch the latest user, and then we need to set the current index. The current index. Current index at this point is length of our because of render cycle, we might not have the current information. So let's do this. Let num users plus users stuff left. So at this stage, we know how many users we have. We have added one more user to it. So this kind of becomes the user we need to display. That should do it. So if I click next now, we should use load a user. So that's all of the users we have. If I click next again, cannot use properties name. Okay, it's probably here. Okay, I'll come back to that. Okay, I loaded a user. Uh,
You can console log your user and see what do you have there.
yeah, that's a good idea. User list map. So I think the problem is cannot read properties of name of undefined. So we're having an issue here. User at this stage is undefined for some reason. Oh, because current user is not valid yet. So let's just do current, current. We have user list, we have current user. Let's go next. Current is undefined.
Yeah, this is because your index. You are setting your index to the next user.
Yeah.
To fix that, in line 42, you have to use current index -1.
But if I do this, if I set it to -1,
It will fix this problem, but it will cause another problem.
yeah, initial indexing problem. The other solution is let me verify something. I want to see if the user list is being populated correctly. User list has all of this stuff. Clear the console, click on next. Okay, user list is not being populated properly. So we are kind of losing user list because this logic seems right. So I think what's happening here is update users. Users has updated, but we are not getting set current user.
What is your current user?
Okay, so it seems like the problem is when we are updating the user list, it's not like the initial call which is made. Let me show you to you here. When I make the initial call, I have current user, current user. If I click next, at this point, the user object is not updated properly. Like it should have two objects, but it still has one object. Now it has three. So I click next. Or I think that should take care of it.
Let's check the index. Okay.
So I would, oh, sorry, I'm not setting the index here. Yeah, I think this should take care of it. Okay, user list is empty right now. Current is undefined, which makes sense.
Then you fetch one.
User list.
Okay, take a breath.
The,
Let's check this function, okay? Part by part. So let's go walk through. So we are calling our API, yeah, calling the API, and then we are getting the user. You are creating a new user, right? And your user is a list, right? Your user is a list, and then you are using spread operator on your users and add a new one, right? It seems to be right. But now we need to check the current user. Let's console log your num users. Because if you have one user in your list, okay, this will return one, but we cannot access an index one in your array because one do not exist. We have one user, but the index is 0.
right. So let me refresh. Current user is this. This makes sense. If I click next.
You are almost there. The problem is you are setting the current index for an index that do not exist, and people are saying that in the chat. You need to increment,
Right.
and while
I'm
returning, you should current index -1. Yeah, but it will cause another issue, right? Let me put
yeah.
myself in the screen again. What you can do, let's do a test, okay? In the line 25, let's use less one. Yeah, less one. Because it will get the indexes, right? But then, okay, it should be working now, right?
Uh,
No, let me remove me out. This is one thing, right? This is one thing. And then in your function next, okay, current index will be one number less right now, right? You need to fix your next function as well.
okay.
Current
The
index +1. You can add a +1 there.
I already
Not
have
there, not
plus one.
there, not there. Line
Oh,
36. If current index +1.
yeah, but this will probably keep the
Not there,
same issue.
not at line 30. 36. Yeah. Makes sense? Because now you are comparing, your index is one less. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
because you are
But
compared one less. Yeah.
right. Okay, I'll implement the previous function.
Okay, great.
Uh,
People are helping you on the chat.
this one's easier. If current index equals to current index minus 1, if current index is less than 0, current index equals to
Put myself back
user
here.
minus 1, that current index. Yeah, that should take care of previous. Next previous works.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's okay. But you need, okay, it's something, we are getting there, right? Okay,
Yeah.
let's do one test. Okay, can you refresh it? Let me move me out here. Let me put myself right here. All right, so let's click next. And then we
This
get the
initial
user.
load doesn't actually load anything. Current is undefined. We get the list of users. Number of users here is, at this point, it's -1.
Yeah.
We loaded the user. This is empty.
If it's
And then
-1, you have to set it to 0, right? Because
yeah,
you are getting the list of users before you fetch it. So it will return -1. But now we have another issue, right?
yeah,
Okay, let's
now
do the test
it's
again. Let's refresh the page. And
okay.
then let's
So
hit next.
it's
Yeah.
highlighted.
Yeah.
But if I click next, it doesn't highlight this user, but it should.
Yeah.
Now it works. Now it works. So I think the problem here is the initial load. One of the ways I can think of solving this is just this. Use effect, fetch. When we load, we just fetch a user. We have to do it only once. So when we load, let me refresh.
It will load forever.
But then we're calling it only once. Why is this happening? Set is loading is not changing. Is loading is set to true. Yeah, I think maybe an API issue. Let me try again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was an API issue because this should only be called once. And then we go inside, fetch the user. Number of users is at this point -1. We have a array of users, first user, and then we set it to 0.
That's correct. And then
Now, if we do next, this increment is not working because current index, we actually, current index is 0. Yeah, this should do it. Fetching the next user.
okay, let's leave it for now. Okay, let's bring the picture.
Okay, so for bringing the picture, I'll just delete this. Okay, we have the name. And we also want the picture. So img.
Let's print the thumbnail. Picture is an object, right?
I think we saved it as picture here.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
So it seems to work except for the first initial load. If I'm here and I go next, it goes to the next one, goes to the next one, goes to the next one. So this is okay. Load a new user. When we load a new user, we do not. Yeah, the problem is here. What's happening is this update and this update.
Yeah.
I mean, so when we make this update, like we have to make sure the updates happen. Like we render only after both of the updates have happened.
How do you do that?
All right, thinking.
But I don't think
What
this
we
is the
can do
problem.
is
I don't think this is the problem.
Okay, let me walk through this again. So fetch user, we called user, number of current index is 0. Total number of user list is 1. If I click next, this condition is going to hit. 1 is not less than 1. Sorry, this condition is not going to be true. We're going to fetch the user. Number of user at this stage is 1 minus 1 is 0. We already fetched a user.
Mm-hmm.
So here, length is 2. We are setting the current index because current index is 1, which is correct. But the two renders are happening at the same time. I think what we have to do is this. Use effect. When users list changes, how do I hide it again? Okay, when our user list changes, the only time this will change is if we updated users. And if we updated users, that means we want to show the last user, right? Because we have 5 users. We are trying to go next. That's when we fetch the 6th user. That means our user list was changed. And we want to display the 6th user. The 6th user is users list length. So this should solve it. Let's start one. Minus 1. So we fetched user. We updated the list and all of this stuff. Now, if I click next, there. If I click next, this works. Yeah, so the problem is this two things happen at the same time because this initiates a state change. This also initiates a state change, but we have to do it one after. Like we have to update current index list. I mean, if we do this, there's no guarantee that this will happen only after. Sorry, this second state change will only happen after this state change. So, but this way, we kind of guarantee that. So refresh, on load, we load the user. I click next. New user is loaded. I go next. Previous works perfectly. I go next, not loaded because we don't hit this condition.
Yes.
If I click next, the condition is hit. We update our user list. Only after the list has updated, we update the current index. So I got rattled a little, but this is something to be mindful of with React state management.
Yeah, because we're not updating in batch, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the other way to do the same, but without triggering a use effect? You don't need to do. Just let me know.
Okay. So what's the other way? One
Oh,
of the
okay,
things.
I will let you know. Okay, another way that come to my mind is rather than use a promise, you can use a sync await, and then wait that Axios, and then perform the other one.
Here.
No, yeah, yes.
Yep, that works. That would also work.
Okay, and so if we want to, let's say, add TypeScript, so how would you map your users? Where you map it?
Okay, so the first thing we need to do is user. This is a array of user. This is a Boolean variable. Sorry, this is a number.
Okay.
This is a Boolean variable. So we defined our types. We
Okay.
need to define what we return.
Okay, before that, can you scroll up a little bit? Then we can see the... all right. Why did you create an interface rather than a type? Why not a type? No, that's just a question. Okay, you don't need to change. But why did you create an interface rather than a type?
So I don't have the answer offhand, but I would imagine if I wanted my user to support some function, I would probably not be able to do it with a type, but I could
Okay.
be wrong about that.
Okay, so we have a couple folks watching this. If I ask this question for you, okay, why an interface and not a type? What would be your answer? Could you please let me know in the comment why an interface and not a type, and why a type and not an interface? I would like to hear that from you. Okay. All right, Rakib, let's keep adding TypeScript to it. Let's see
Okay,
where we can
so
get.
we are supposed to return a list of user, which is our user list. We then return user, which is our current user. We then return a Boolean variable, which is the loading state. And then these two are functions. So those two functions implement iterator. I think, yeah. So next is a function that does not take any arguments and does not doesn't return anything, which is why it's void. So iterator. Now it's typed. So if I say is loading, it's going to flag it because it expects an iterator. I think, yeah. Yeah, I think that's all. There's, yeah, all of the states that we use have uh, had types added to it.
Okay, so Rakib, that's it for today. Okay. Um, okay, before we finish, okay, how would you improve that? So you are calling functions, we're calling variables. So what kind of improvement in terms of caching we could add there?
Uh, so we I mean, from the problem statement, right?
Yes.
We kind of cache it well because we only make an API call only when it's needed. So on load, we make an API call. Uh, we if there's not enough users, we don't make an API call. We don't go to the next one. We just go to the next one. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anything that's not optimized here. This is probably this hook is probably the only one that I feel like we could optimize a little better if we could do the indexing, because state management, users is needed, current index is needed, is loading is needed. These are required to solve the problem. This is also required because we want to load a user on initial load. This feels like something we could probably optimize, but that required, I mean, one of the solutions is what you described, doing that. Because with this, we are letting React be kind of in control of it, like, add additional tracking that users has changed or not. But we could probably do that on our own.
Okay, one more last thing. Could you please open the console on your right side?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
see.
So that's probably another optimization we could do. So let's imagine here. We know picture URL is unique, although this is probably a bad idea.
You
So
can get anything in the user. That's the ID there.
yeah, I mean, this is a bad idea because it's a very long URL. So we could probably update our interface to include an ID. I think our API doesn't give an ID. Okay, it does, id.name. So we destructure the ID out of it. This assumes that this is unique for each user.
Okay.
We put ID here and ID here. When React is re-rendering this list, if it has the IDs, it can intelligently decide if it has to render a certain list of items. It can only add to that list the new kind of item that it needs to add based on this.
Okay,
check
is that
here.
ID? Does ID work as a key?
I have to double check that. If it's not efficient, okay, unique key property. So it's probably key.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that error is gone now.
Yeah, that's work because React.js uses this key property in its diff algorithm, okay, to use to compare and just update the roles that you want to update. In this case, it doesn't make too much difference because we are not changing values, like we are not changing the username or anything. But if you want to update the username or user ID or anything else, not ID, name, email, or something else, it will make difference. Okay, and people in the chat are saying, when use, okay, three good comments. All right, so in case of typing, interface or type, when you use interface when you want to extend or mutate times. And best of scene is saying we use type of for adding the data type, but in interface we receive functions and values provided by logic hooks and share them with other logic hooks. Yeah. All right. So Rakib, thank you. That's it for today. Okay. Thank you for attending this meeting. So if you come to my interview like this, I would pass you for sure for the next step. Okay, because you did the job. Okay. So that's it for today. If you guys have any question, anything to ask, feel free to drop a message in the comment section below and tell me what kind of live you'd like to see in the upcoming video. Would like a live for Python as well? Would you like a live for Java or C# or anything else? You can leave a message here. We are gonna create one for you. Another thing, you can go to turing.com/jobs and search for the jobs that are suitable for your tech stack. So if you are not subscribed to Turing YouTube channel, please hit the red button and subscribe to it. It's free. It's just need to press the button, okay? If you enjoy this kind of comment, leave me a message and give me a fat thumbs up for this video. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Go to turing.com/jobs, search for the jobs that are suitable for your tech stack and apply for that. Okay, the job this live that you saw today is one of the challenge that we pass, and you might get around in your interviews around the world. Okay, so I've seen people saying Java. Okay, Java will be really interesting. Java, Python, we're gonna get that. Okay, Rakib, again, thank you for your time. Okay, and before we finish, how would you keep yourself updated with React stuffs or everything else?
For me personally, there's basically two things that I do. One is React.JS documentation. Their documentation is very good. The other is YouTube channels like this one, where there's always something new to talk about.
All right, great. Thanks for that, and I hope to see you all again. Okay, next Friday we have a coding challenge live again, so we're gonna solve another problem live during another coding problem in the next video. I hope to see you all guys there. Okay, as that said, that's a wrap. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you all again.
Thank you.